Hello, everybody. Welcome to Fruitful Trees. You know, I go all over the place and I ask questions, deep questions, and I don't get settled for an answer. I always want to ask more than one person because I want to help myself and you as much as possible when it comes to growing fruit trees. One of the things I'm very careful to do is to make sure the health and safety of my own body is the reason why I grow trees, because I want to grow my own food and eat my own food. I don't know what they're putting on or spraying on stuff I'm not eating, so that's one of my goals, or one of my main goals when I grow food. So one of the questions is there's something very toxic out there called Roundup that kills weeds. And it's definitely 100% non-disputed that if you put it directly on plants and eat those plants, you're going to get some of the negative effects of those harmful toxic chemicals that are in weed killers, and it's going to affect your health in a negative way. But the question is, I went to a couple of farms and I interviewed a couple of people, and there was no weeds around their trees. So I like to hand pick the weeds around my trees to do my best to keep them weed free. Now, when the trees get bigger and they get shaded, not as many weeds will grow around the tree, but some of my trees aren't as big yet, and there are always weeds around them that I have to hand pick. Well, I go to some farms and there should be weeds there, but there aren't. And I say, well, what are you doing? And they said they use Roundup. Roundup to kill their weeds. The trees look great, but is that chemical and the Roundup getting into the fruit that's growing on the tree? So that was the question. And I've asked several different people and I've got several different answers. For me, I'm not taking a chance. But I know very knowledgeable people who've been growing fruit trees for a long time that say it doesn't make a difference. It's absolutely fine to use toxic chemicals on the bottom of the tree. It's not going to get into the fruit. However, I've interviewed other knowledgeable people that say something different. And today on the show, I'm going to show you a clip of a video I did with Pete Canaris from Green Dreams, who has nurseries for many years, and he has a wonderful edible nursery now. And I did interviews with him recently, and I'm going to present this question to him and see what he says about it. Okay, is weed killer going to affect the fruit on the tree? And another topic we're going to talk about is water and the quality of the water, not only when you're feeding your trees, but also when you put it in your body. Because where Pete lives in Spring Hill, Florida, is right near Zephyr's Hills and other springs that have natural water flowing out of the ground. So is it better to water your trees with spring water, with well water, with tap water? Does it make a difference? I would think if it doesn't make a difference about the weed killer, then why would water make a difference? But I believe it does make a difference. And the more nutrition you have in the water, and the cleaner the water is, I think the more nutritious and cleaner the fruit on the tree is going to be. Well, let's hear what Pete has to say just about water in general and from a health standpoint for our bodies, and how to know if we have good water. So this is Pete Canaris from Green Dreams. I'm going to put his link below. Check it out.
We're always learning a new plant. You know, there's always a new variety of mango. There's always this new species. Like the sky's the limit. You know, I'm always learning. You know, so for the ability to learn, the ability to not use chemicals. I mean, it's just everything. It was like somebody turning on the lights. You know, it all just made sense.
All right. Well, two questions you bring up. A lot of times, not a lot, but there are some people that I go interview them and they have no weeds around their trees, and they say on their fruit trees they use Roundup. And I say, doesn't that affect the fruit in the tree? And they say it doesn't on the tree. What's your opinion about that? Do you know anything about that? Because some people are like they're crazy and other people are like that's fine.
I would 100% say that affects the trees. You know. My prices on fruit trees, you know, are highly competitive, and it is a lot harder to pull weeds and to do this without herbicides and Roundup. It is cheap and easy. You know, when I weed these driveways, we do this by hand. It takes 3-4 people 5-6 hours. I can come through here and spray this in 10 minutes, you know. But when you see these lawsuits starting to get settled, and, you know, I didn't mention this. I said my dad was a landscaper. He died of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. You know, that's one of the main causes now that has been linked to glyphosate and herbicide. You know, I mean, there's lawsuits that have been settled. You know, can I prove that? No. I can tell you myself, I can't even eat gluten. You know, it gives me heartburn, you know, and this is something that I developed over years. And I've also found out, you know, that, you know, farmers that grow wheat now increase their crops per year with glyphosate, you know. So you know, with connecting the dots and talking to people and knowing people that have PhDs in soil science, you know, that, you know, have told me they've started to kind of connect the dots on what glyphosate is doing to our microbiome and how it is destroying our guts. And, you know, hearing the stories of these funding being pulled from these studies, you know, as soon as they start to kind of connect the dots. I mean, I think it's quite obvious, you know, if you just look at the history of glyphosate and the company and the other products they make and the links between cancer and health and what has really changed here. You know, I mean, look at cancer rates in the last 20 years. What's changed? Our food, genetic modification of our food. In 1997, I mean, everything is sprayed in Roundup. I mean, it eventually, I think, yeah, it's taking a toll. It's weakening our gut. It's breaking us down. Everything starts inside the gut. I think it's honestly a no-brainer. And, you know, one of my big turning points to growing this nursery was during COVID, buying trees from one of the most reputable nurseries in the state on the East Coast. And, you know, it was when they had the no shopping policy. You have to come pick up. And I come to pick up these trees. And every one of these pots had weeds in them that are a foot and a half tall. The trees were only a foot taller than that. And they were all just browned out with Roundup. I lost half of those mangoes. You know, so not only, you know, being an organic nursery, not using synthetic fertilizers, having to wean these plants off of these synthetics onto these organics. Now I have these plants that have been doused in herbicides, that have been hit with synthetic fertilizers that I need to put on the organics. You know, those ones, I can tell you right now, we almost call it like a weaning process when we get trees, because I don't graft, I don't grow everything here in-house. You know, we do have to broker some stuff in. You know, we don't use chemicals, so we lose a tree here and there. You know, we lose an avocado, especially for the nurseries that push. You know, like I've actually, there's a few nurseries I won't buy from anymore just because I feel like they're using way too high, you know, of a nitrogen level in their trees. They're pushing them way too fast just to make them look bigger for that resale. You know, where we want a young, strong, healthy, you know, we look at the plant just like we would look ourselves, you know, with a holistic diet. And when you get a plant that's been sprayed in herbicide and doused in, you know, injected in these chemical fertilizers, you know, it's like a bodybuilder on steroids. He's going to be weak, you know, he's going to crash. You know, it's nothing like the holistic.
So another question, you said you go to a lot of the springs, you grew up in the springs here. Do you think the springs are affected by what's going in the ground, or is that a different story?
100%. I don't think we've seen the real effect on the springs. Like you saw, like last year, a couple of springs blacked out. They didn't know what happened. I don't know if the springs, you know, when you look at the way development is, there's not as much heavy cookie cutter development on these spring neighborhoods as there is on the coastlines. You know, where I do see a lot of the chemical issues is you know, red tide issues.
Well, the reason why I ask is like, we're not too far from Zephyrus Hills, Florida, and Zephyrus Hills water is really popular. It's spring water. Is spring water something where they don't consider that, you know, what's being poured in the ground around it, or is it affecting the water? Is this like, do we have to worry about our spring water because of all the chemicals they're using in the ground?
150%. Yeah, I don't think we really know what's coming with that, you know, and from the rumors and the people I've talked to, I mean, and the people I know, Zephyr Hills spring water dried up 20 years ago. In 2004, 2005, they tapped out. They've overdrawn that. That is just glorified bottled water called spring water. You know, there is no spring for Zephyr Hills spring water, and it's from overwatering. You know, we can talk about dewatering. I mean, you know, the county right below me here, Pinellas County, gets 80%. At one point, it was much higher, I even heard, from an area right here across the street called Crossbar Wellfield. They take 25 million gallons a day. You know, because they've overpopulated and, you know, haven't figured out the desalination plants and just sucking my area dry, you know. So you heard about the big sinkhole problems in Florida, and Spring Hill is very known for sinkholes. Most of those sinkholes were caused from the dewatering from the counties below us, sucking all of our water out and not paying $1 for it.
When I used to go to California, we used to just go on the side of a mountain and get spring water. And now I hear people buying properties with a spring-fed pond or whatever. But I hear it's not safe to just take that water and drink it the same way you would from the mountains, like out west. I mean, do you agree, like, you need to get that water tested before you start considering drinking it, or would that be safe?
I think it's very questionable. You know, like, I had the water tested here. I do think it's a good idea to have it tested. Water is life, you know, like, and it's so interesting we're talking about this because The water I have here on this property is some of the best water I've ever tasted in my life. It's clean, there's no smell, there's no odor. 4 miles down the road at my home site where I live, the water's terrible. 4 miles this way, the water's terrible. We just happen to be in this little nook that's supposedly tied into the Wikiwachi, spring system. Like, I don't treat this. I've had it tested. It's a little high in calcium. This is the best bottled water I've ever had in my life.
So you get spring water on this property?
It's unbelievable.
Really?
It's unbelievable. I can drink it right out of the tap. It's the best water you've ever tasted in your life.
Really?
Yeah.
So you got to test it and it's clean.
Amazing. It's artesian. Yeah, it's really, really, really good. If I wanted to...
So you drink it from a well?
Right out of the tap. I'm like, I'll take it out of the hose bib. I drink it out of the well. I bottle water and bring it home to my own house because it's so good here. Yeah, when you really taste some good water, it's like.
But again, all of the glucifites and everything going in the ground around the area. Like when you test it, I know you test for certain things, but are there even tests for those things?
Oh, 100%. That's where it gets expensive, though.
So
when you start testing.
Have you tested your water for
I did my own house for that, and I did this here once for that. Yeah, and it was an expensive panel. Yeah, it was that one-time panel. At my other house, I mean, I have bacterial iron. I mean, I have to put it through a charcoal filter. It stains the leaves of my plants. Just a difference in the plant health since we brought it here.
Sure.
Like my nursery manager, Katerina, would tell you, she's like, the plants are so much happier. It's just night and day. I mean, compared to, I don't know why it only looked like it was doing this orange staining on the plants, but they're growing better. They look fuller. It's just the plants are responding to the healthier water too. So, do we need to keep testing water going forward? 100%. Like the county I live in does a leachate injection into the aquifer. We have these giant phosphate plants injecting into the aquifer. That's our most valuable resource here in Florida. Like we the people need to protect the aquifer. I can't tell you how important that is. Exactly. Water is life.
All right, everybody, that was Pete Canaris from Green Dreams. The links are below. Check it out. I'm also going to put a link to the last 2 interviews I did with him, or the 2 parts to this particular interview. So check that out at those links. If you have comments or questions, post them below. I'd love to know what your opinion are about these topics. Until then, everybody, stay safe, be wise, and keep growing. For more educational videos about mangoes and other fruits and how to grow fruit trees, please look out the other videos on this channel, Fruitful Trees, and also subscribe if you like, and also share these videos with others. Thank you for watching. Have a great day and keep growing.